Welcome to the Quiet Light Podcast again. This is Pat Yates sitting in for Joe Valley. I have a very fun conversation today with a Amazon and Walmart's agency called Ecomcy. Interesting name, ecomcy.com, ECOMCY.com, with Vincenzo Toscano. Man, what a great guy. He really understands the industry. This agency can not only really help you with product photography, getting your listings even together. If you're just starting your business, they can help you expand not only and understand how to optimize those from an advertising standpoint, but they now are one of 20 providers on Walmart that can be able to help do some specific onboarding for those products. Really knowledgeable guy. And sometimes I think even though there are a lot of agencies out there, sometimes you find relationship stuff that's different, focus on a different vertical. I'm just excited to hear all the things that he can do with his company, Ecomcy, today. And if you're out there looking to get Walmart expanded, this may be a perfect opportunity with this new opportunity that they have. And I'm just anxious to hear what Vincenzo has to say today. So let's get going with it. Vincenzo, it's great to have you in the podcast today. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, my friend? It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm so excited to have this conversation today. You know, I know you have an Amazon and Walmart agency that you work through, and you have some things that you do that are different. I think sometimes when entrepreneurs listen to this, they like, well, this is the same old thing that emails me and they send me texts and they want me to do this and marketing. So I'm anxious to dive in a little bit and understand a little bit more about your business and what might differentiate yourself. But honestly, I'd love to hear some background on you first. Maybe tell us about you, where you're from, and all of that.
Yeah, 100%. So yes, so as you said, I have an agency, Ecomcy, and we do full account management on Amazon and Walmart. And to give you a bit of context about how I reach and basically entered the space, my background is aerospace engineering. So I used to work for Rolls-Royce as an engineer. And to be honest, I always have that need to have my own business. I come from a family that's very business oriented, and I always had that, that mindset of having to do my own thing and do some extra money on the side. and that's how I found Amazon, to be honest. It was by mistake. I was doing wanted to find some side income opportunities. And from there, I started selling on Amazon. I did my own brands. And then from there, I discovered the world of all different events you have in the Amazon space. And after going to a couple of events, I saw, this is interesting. There is a gap here in the market of so many amazing founders, brand owners, and product inventors that they want to sell on Amazon, but they are really struggling in terms of the strategies, how to do it. And they don't really have the time to build a team to manage their brand and products into this platform. And that's how the idea of doing Ecomcy came to fruition. So we've been in the space for over 3 years now. We started only with Amazon, basically helping all these brands fully scale into the platform globally. So we do all the way from Amazon USA to Amazon Japan. And actually, we're having this discussion before the podcast. 2 weeks ago, we became one of the only 20 agencies right now worldwide, which is official partner and certified partner with Walmart. So we're helping now brands also jump into Walmart to take advantage of this opportunity. Yeah, so very exciting.
Well, that's really an exciting thing. One of 20 companies. That's really amazing. Yeah. So not only can you help people a little bit with their Amazon business, this can roll over to another platform if they have interest in going on to Walmart. Let's say they haven't. So it's really interesting. Yeah. You brought a lot of things. You know, it's interesting. I was looking at your site, and what's cool about what you do is if you had a brand new product, let's say you just brought it in from wherever you're manufacturing and you don't know where to sell it, you can help them with everything, starting from the product launch to design to copywriting to anything. So tell us a little bit, because I think people get a lot out. They understand a lot about how the marketing side goes, but what are the advantages to maybe launching with a group like you? So the listings are what you would call better quality. I mean, is there sort of a pitch you would give them on trying to come to you from the inception to getting your store going?
Yeah, I mean, we have this on a daily basis when we're having the calls with potential clients. And I think usually the easiest way to put it is that usually when these brands come to us and they want to start selling on Amazon and Walmart, they don't really have a clue about to even get started. And usually the easiest way to really put it into a way of how this can actually help them scale their business into this marketplace is that for them as a business to be able to hire a team, train them, and then make them even capable of doing something that can be meaningful for their brands on this platform, it's going to take them months, sometimes even years. And for us, that we have a team now, close to 30 people now. We've been in the space for so many years. We have worked for brands from 6 figures all the way to 8 figures. We have seen everything in under the sun. And for us, it's much easier to really plug your brand into our ecosystem and get the things rolling, right? And you as a brand owner, you had to figure out what is PPC, how to do listings, how to launch, how to even open an Amazon account, which is going to take you so much time. And we all know time is money. So usually I say, you don't want to waste all these months or years figuring out, where in the meantime, while you try to figure out, your competition is going to come and take that slice of the pie, which you don't want. So that's usually the way.
So when you're doing let's say you're doing the product research and you're thinking about design of pages and things like that, have you seen situations where people don't do that and they come back to you? What is the real reason that someone should utilize you to say, do their own product, do the product listing? I mean, do you feel like that the information you have, how do you make those more dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, when brands come to us and they want to, for example, do listing optimization, I feel, of course, when it comes to the actual description and how to sell the product, usually the founder is the one that really know how to put that in the best words towards the audience. But I feel where we really add the game changer thing to the listing to make it work is the actual strategy behind the keywords and phrases you use, because you can have an amazing copy. And actually, sometimes we have calls with brands that they have spent thousands of dollars paying like this amazing copywriter, book writers, like the best writers in the world. But the thing with these writers is that they don't really understand Amazon as a game, and they don't really know how to position the keywords, how to really do certain things with the actual strategy behind the ACO. And that's where I feel the combination of these two things, it gives the best result. Usually when we work with brands, we try to get the person behind the designer behind the branding and product very integrated with our copywriters to make sure that our team can bring the best strategies and knowledge regarding the Amazon space. And there, as the founders, can bring us the best ideas in terms of how to make the pitch of your product to the Amazon, basically potential customers, as efficient as possible. Yeah.
That's really incredible. So I know that one of the things that I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about is putting their best foot forward with photography, enhanced brand content, things like that. Is there a certain philosophy as to how you go about it? Do you try to get your clients to concentrate on 3 or 4 really good things, or do they go broader when they try to put together their pages, bullet points, and EBC?
Yeah. So when it comes to images, that's one of the first thing we do whenever we onboard a client that they've been struggling in Amazon, for example, because from experience, we have found that images is like the 80-20 rule, right? We feel like images is like 20% of thing that you can do on the listing that can bring 80% of the results. And that's just by the pure nature that Amazon is becoming each day more and more a visual platform. And people nowadays has a very short life attention span. They don't really have time to read all the bullet points, description. So I feel images is where really you need to put the most time. I would say even resources. If you need to choose an area where you need to spend the most money, for sure has to be the images. You need to make those images pop, be very premium feeling, like the person can like almost feel the product just by looking at the images. And that's where we spend so much time, for example, doing A/B testing. We also do, for example, a audience analysis. So, for example, with services such as PickFu, we can test at different angles, different colors, shadows to make sure we get the highest click rate on an image. Because another day, a few percentages on a 7-8 figure brand, those can be a lot of money. So that's why we focus so much, especially on the main image, where I feel so much people don't put attention. I think the main image can be game changer for sure if you do those things. Yeah.
Right. So people that, let's say they have an established e-com business on Amazon, maybe it's growing a little bit, or maybe it's stagnant. And I know that your work on listings tends to improve things, but maybe talk a little bit about how, those listings will tie into your marketing. Because like, I know that enhanced brand content is much bigger than just a store page. Some people think it's a store page. Much of it is information below the listing. So maybe you can talk about what your philosophy is there for people to like put their best foot forward and look like $1 million brand, even if they're a small brand. Is there a philosophy that you guys go about on that?
Yeah, so when it comes to the A plus content, I would say that you definitely want to focus as much as possible to give the best face of your brand. And what I mean by this, really focus a lot on the branding, like the actual feeling that you give as a perception when somebody looks at your colors, your brand, and the history behind the brand. I think the A plus content is a combination of talking a little bit about your story, about your brand itself, and how that basically came into made the possibility of your product even came into existence. Like what is the issue that made you found your brand in the first place, and how that made you come with the idea of creating the product. And on top of that, I feel you need to be very aggressive with visuals. So for example, a mistake I see with the A plus content is that people focus so much on text, like using the generic templates that Amazon gives you, and they focus on going so much in there with this feature and all that and all that. And at the end of the day, I feel the best A plus content we have came across our catalog of brands is being very minimalistic, but also very clean with your colors and the images, but also very eye-catching. So using color that really, like when you're scrolling, it makes you pop up and really feel that screen on your phone that makes you, wow, this looks so nice. And it helps so much with conversion, because if you just try to repurpose, which I see this mistake so many times in the A plus content, the images that you have in your list in the first place, like the same image, but you just put it in the A plus content with a big block of text. What is the added value you're actually adding there? Is really none. So yeah, I feel the A plus content is where you really make that branding side of things pop up and really showcase to people that you're not just another like Chinese seller. You're really a brand that providing something unique to that specific niche. Yeah.
That's a great point. I mean, I think that what you hit on there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that, first of all, they like to control everything and they don't want, necessarily to pay for something, and they feel like they can create it themselves. But obviously there must be a measurable difference between someone looking at their own brand through the glasses that they would normally make things, and then having another company to bounce ideas off. I mean, have you found that people that are established sellers, let's say it's not someone new that comes in to work with you, do you feel like what percentage of those people in your eyes are really not as prepared as they actually think they are? Maybe it's something out there that people say, hey, I'm in great shape, I don't have to have this. But is that really true? Or do you find little nuances that help in some way, shape, or form for everyone? Maybe you can talk about that of clients you've onboarded that are existing sellers.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, it's funny because I have found so many big brands, like we're talking 7-8 figure brands, and these are usually sellers that start in the easy times, as we call it, like 2014, 2015.
Right.
And they're really dominating their niche. They're dominating all the keywords. And they come to us, and when we actually have a look at the listing, like listing super basic, like one sentence, bullet points, like only 3 images. And sometimes it's shocking to know that these people are doing that level of revenue and they haven't really put the extra effort to, I'm already making so much money. Why not even put so much that extra optimization to increase it to that maximum possibility that I'm not discovering at the moment? So I see that so much. And I feel the reason why that happens is that, usually when I have this conversation with sellers that, starting to this area and they got very established on keywords and now they're making pretty much passive income without doing anything, you reach a point that sometimes I would call it like comfortable, like you're making money and I shouldn't really put in too much effort into that. But at the same time, I had clients that with that mindset during the COVID times and during now that there is so much extra competition coming to market, they're struggling because when you are taking advantage of that revenue, which is nice, I mean, they're having a good life, they're having good revenue coming in, and you stop going to events, you stop going to webinars, you start listening to podcasts, you don't know what are the latest strategies, you don't know what the competition is doing to attack your listing in terms of PPC, what they're doing to maybe possibly take your listing down. All these things that if you don't stay updated in the long term can be very difficult, because now you have these sellers that have 7-8 figures brand and they don't really have lost all this time of not catching up with the trends of the hungry people that's still not there. So I would say it's a always learning process. I would say you need to keep adjusting, and for all those brands that have been sellers for such a long time, my number one advice is that never settle, right? I had a couple of clients before coming to us that's why they onboarded us. They were on that comfortable position, and they started losing their dominance on a niche. And this scenario was exactly what this guy. They were the typical listings, very basic images, very basic listings. We remade the whole branding, and now we managed to have them get on track of being the dominant leader again. So yeah, never settle. No, don't be comfortable in this space. Yeah.
That's great. That's a really good point. I mean, I think that, what's funny is I think that some people, they listen to sellers talk about going on Amazon. So many people say, like, you can even go on TikTok and people say, hey, all you got to do is find a product listed on Amazon and watch money come in. It's not near that easy that some people would say it. So it's good to have people that are experts. And one of the things that I think that's important in this, I mean, you keep up with a lot of Amazon, rules, regulations, things they have to be in compliance with. Is that advice something that you usually give? Like if you're diving into the system and you see problems with listings or policy violations, is that something you walk your clients through to make sure their account health and things stay great? Or is that sort of outside the scope?
Yes, that's something that we always get an amazing feedback from our clients. So actually, whenever I'm talking to founders and they hire us and we start working on the brand, I always tell them, I'm happy that you became our client and we're doing everything for you, but I really incentivize you that, and we do this with our clients, and sometimes they cannot do it because of time limitations, but we have weekly calls every single time with them. And we actually teach them and we give them always a brief update of what happened in the space. Like, these are the latest things. We want to try this strategy with your brand. And we always try to get them refreshed of what is going on, because I feel like if the gap between the founder, which is our client, and ourselves start becoming too big, then sometimes can be difficult for the communication, because again, it may be that we start to implement certain strategies, certain changes to the campaigns, certain campaigns to the actual brand in itself. And if the owner doesn't really understand the thought process and the long-term strategy that basically is behind those actions, sometimes it creates a conflict. So for us, we always try to keep them incentivized with the latest things. We even recommend them podcasts. We recommend certain newsletters. We recommend certain events, because I feel you as a founder, even if you're working with top agencies that's doing everything for you, you never should put the gas in knowledge, because at the end of the day, if you do that, it's going to reach that point, which I have seen that so many times, that people is doing things for you, but you don't know why they're doing that for you. And if that's the case, how can you even assess they're doing a good job? Even if you're paying for something, you should have some basic understanding. And that's why I feel you should always keep learning, regardless of you working, regardless of which agency you're working with. I think it's very important for you as a seller, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think that everything you're talking about is incredibly comprehensive, but probably the most complicated side to it is definitely the advertising. And I know that's where you do most of your work, is in there. But Amazon is now so different. It used to be that you could do sponsored, brands and then sponsored products and then all these things, but there's so many different options, I noticed on your site video as well, which is becoming really, really big in Amazon. I know there's a whole lot to unpack in that, but I'd love to hear maybe the top 2 or 3 type of, I guess, the avenues that you like to concentrate on in your company for advertising for those clients. Or can you narrow it down that much, or are there that many that you have to go through?
Yeah, for sure. So the main ones, yes, and the only existing one right now, if you're in Seller Central, is basically a sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. And I will say for most people when they're getting started, sponsored products is definitely where you have to be, because sponsored products is where the intention for purchase is the highest. So it's usually you're targeting that keyword that really describes the product to the closest in terms of what the product does or the actual product itself. Therefore, the intention for purchase from potential customer is the highest. You can also do product targeting, which means you can target other competitors directly, similar products or accessories, and usually the intention is very high. And I will say sponsored products, if I need to break it down between sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display, you should always have 80% of your strategy and budget has to go towards sponsored products. And the other 20%, usually you want to spread it between sponsored brands and sponsored display. Now, with sponsored brands, I think this is a very powerful tool, especially when you want to start building your brand presence on the platform, right? I would say sponsored brand is more for creating awareness around your brand. It's more for creating a presence, start creating your dominance and a status on a niche, because sponsor brand allows you to do a lot of things with visual content, like for example, nice banners with your custom image or video campaigns. And these things can be very powerful, especially if you want to create that authority, because again, it might not have the biggest intent for purchase on certain placements, but it's the repetition. We know that sometimes people have to see you 5 to 7 times to make the decision. And if you're always putting your branding, your logo with your banners and all that across multiple of the main keywords over and over again, that helps a lot over time to create the status in the niche. Then you have a sponsor display, which I think this, for example, if you approach a recurrent product, super powerful. For example, we have a supplement brands, and we use this so much because with sponsor display, it's basically an easy access for normal brands to get a taste of Amazon DSP, which DSP is much more expensive. Most people had to have a very high spend to enter into DSP, but with sponsor display, just by having a Amazon brand register, you get access to it. And what you can do, for example, with the case of a supplement brand, I could say, please target people that have seen similar products in the last 30 days or has purchased certain products in the last 30 days. And that can be very powerful because let's say you're selling vitamin C. Usually vitamin C you will buy every 30 to 45 days. So you can use those timeframes to be very methodic about how to retarget similar audiences, similar competitors, or even behavior sometimes that can allow you to create that effect that you see, I'm pretty sure, when you go to a website or something that people follow you around with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and all that. Sponsor display is the same, which in fact can even appear on third-party websites. So I would say those are the main 3 strategies that you guys have to understand. Of course, these go much more in depth. But if I need to give you an advice and you need to choose one right now, especially if you're getting started, sponsored products for sure is a way to go and where you're going to get the most return on your investment. Yeah.
Right. So let me ask this question. So whenever you have a client come on, a lot of times they're going to want to understand the advertising metrics. They're going to want to say, I'd like to get some feedback on my ROAS. I want to look at my spend. I want to kind of set my budgets for the future. How do you manage that from a client standpoint? Do you have a portal where people can look? Is it weekly meetings? How do you set your company up so you can get the right, I guess, metrics and feedback quick enough to make changes in what you're doing in your business to make sure you're optimizing that Amazon account?
For sure. Something that we do is that we have our own software. So basically, it's like a dashboard where brands get connected, and we can include all like cost of goods, lead times, all the kind of metrics, and then they have their own customized, basically a dashboard. They can see all the KPIs. We also, when we start working with a client, we deliver them a very in-depth document that we have designed with all the nomenclature of all the acronyms, KPIs, meaning abbreviations, all of that, so they can have a understanding of what specific symbols and things means. And on top of that, they get also very detailed report on a weekly and monthly basis, outlining, first of all, the strategies that we're doing in the account, the reasoning behind the account, if we're doing something new, why we're doing it. And we also make sure that all these things are tracked on an archive, so they can always go back and see all the comments, things that the team is doing. And we make it as transparent as possible, because again, if we're doing things bad, we want to be accountable for them. But if we're also doing things correctly, I think it's also good that we also are accountable for that as well. So I think making it as transparent as possible is the best way usually to have that relationship healthy and have a good long-term relationship. Yeah.
That's terrific. So as I was reviewing your business, I also saw that you do influencer strategy, which is a little different considering some people haven't really adopted that on Amazon. They like to do it on their own site. And I'm curious about your focus on that. And is your philosophy the same as most, or is it tell us about that influencer philosophy?
Sure. So the influencer philosophy is something that came into the equation, especially in the last 2 years or so. And I think it's because Amazon is becoming a very competitive place. And I feel like more now than ever, you really need to build an audience and a brand outside of Amazon, because if you only try to compete on Amazon itself, only like, let's say PPC, and even putting on top of that you maybe your product is not super unique, and maybe you don't have something patented or something that really makes impossible for people to compete on you on pricing and PPC, you're gonna struggle, right? An influencer, basically what we try to do is we want to build your brand also outside of the Amazon bubble, right? We want to make sure we build your loyal fans, people that really believing in your mission as a brand, or whatever is the solution you're bringing to a specific niche. And what we do with influencers, we try to target influencers that have, usually this is also very important when somebody says influencer, people start thinking about, the Kardashians, like the Logan Pauls, the millions of followers. And actually, that's not the case at all. We actually want to work with micro influencers. I feel like the best result we have achieved for brands is people that have 5,000-10,000 followers, because usually these are people that are very close with their community. And usually people really trust, like they have that human connection that with influencers have millions of followers that doesn't exist. Like people already know that kind of influencer, they're always trying to pitch you something, and they don't really, if they can be advertising whatever product, and it's not really going to drive that engagement. So that's a tip I would say. Focus on those 5,000 to 10,000 followers, and try to focus on the ones that you really feel they have a genuine connection with the community. And once you discover that, I will say the next thing we try to do with our brands is we try to convert them into ambassadors, right? So the way we do this is we try to keep them very close within our processes in terms of what we do with the brand. So for example, we sometimes even create a group between all influencers where we can brainstorm, sometimes launch strategies for certain products. We give them access to exclusive prototypes we are doing for certain products, or exclusive discounts for their community. Another thing that we try to do, for example, is that, for example, most of these influencers, they make money with Amazon influencer program, right? Which is a percentage they get through a link they get for a specific product. The issue with that is that percentage is very low. We're talking sometimes from 2 to 5%. It's really nothing, right? So what we try to do is to use actually our a brand referral bonus link, which is we give us 10% a commission, and there are clever ways that you can do to track this. And basically you can split 50 and 50, or sometimes 60 and 40. They get double what they will get from the normal influencer link. And on top of that, sometimes we give them monetary compensation. But just to make the short story is that this has helped so much our brands, because now we don't rely on the typical trying to borrow money on PPC. We actually now, each of our brands on average has 10, 15 influencers that are very loyal, because we've been working with them for months or sometimes years. And their community already knows. Sometimes we do exclusive events just for their community, things like that. And that external traffic, like when you target the right keywords and you do it with the right strategies, so much powerful. And that's why we actually sometimes overtake the competition on these niches, because most of brands on Amazon don't have this. And now you have 10, 15 influencers, which combine is like maybe 50 plus thousands of people, which just with just a normal, let's say we can call it 1% conversions of 50,000. You're talking on average between 1 and 2%, between 500, 1,000 sales, which if you target the right keywords and you do with a new product using honeymoon period and a strategy, you can get ranked so easily. And that's where it's really moving. It's been bringing so much potential and extra benefit to this brand that using influencers. Yeah.
That's really incredible. I think that you hit on a lot of things there. I think some people always think my positioning is great until they get in and talk with other people and see, how much improvement. Just because you're on the 6th position of first page doesn't mean you can't get to, the first position of non-sponsored. And it's great that I'm sure you guys are doing the right keyword research. So now I'm understanding as we're talking that you had a huge announcement with another vertical. Obviously, I know you have Walmart that you said you're onboarding people for, to be able to help overall with everything, just like you are Amazon. I don't know a lot about it. Obviously, it's brand new. So I'd love for you to tell our listeners all about what you can do for them on Walmart.
Yeah, so Walmart has been a project that we've been working on this for around a year now. So it took us around a year to get here. So as I said, we are one of the only 20 agencies right now in the world that is fully certified and approved by Walmart. So what we're doing with Walmart is that we're helping them with everything from A to Z. So a strategic position here is to have a lot of those Amazon brands as well to explore other venues, because I feel it's also a mistake that you see Amazon as a business, just Amazon itself, because again, Amazon has to be seen as a channel. You cannot only have a business rely on Amazon, because next day they can show your account down or a competitor comes or whatever can happen that we all know. And then your business is gone overnight, right? So that's why I'm always push a lot with my clients to diversify their business. Even if myself, I'm very Amazon driven in this case, is to try other venues to over time build more assets. You don't want to have all your eggs in the same basket, because if something happens, you have nothing to really fall on, right? So that's where Walmart came now in the equation, to give more options to our clients, and also to give them an option to keep expanding their business. I feel sometimes when you fall in the bubble of only Amazon, 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 you become very tunnel vision. And the issue with becoming so tunnel vision is that you start neglecting opportunities that are so clear, but at the same time, you don't take them because you fall on that ecosystem that doesn't allow you to look other things. Like when you fall on the Apple ecosystem, sometimes Samsung phones are better, and you know for sure they're better, but you don't want to test them out because they're just so deep on our ecosystem. And the same happens here. And we have seen very good success with some of the brands we are already pushing towards Walmart, because I feel Walmart right now is like 2014, 15 Amazon times. Like is very open right now in terms of the things and strategies you can do. The competition is very minimal. At the same time, I need to be transparent that, of course, you're not going to get the same revenue as Amazon, no way. But again, I think in business, you need to be strategic and bet for the long term, because I feel maybe you're not going to see the fruits right now, but I feel it's the early mover advantage, right? If you go right now, right, and even if you're making maybe just 20% of what you do in Amazon, but you start dominating page one on all your keywords, you start building your reviews and everything, 5-10 years from now, when Walmart's one day they wake up and get crazy and put even 3-5 times the resources they're putting right now, and they really want to make this even bigger, which they're working very hard to do that, I feel you're going to be in a very good position. And remember, Walmart has a secret weapon, which is the retail locations. I mean, they're pretty much 5 miles across every single American right now, and they're thinking of clever ways to integrate their retail locations with e-commerce. And I feel when they start doing that more aggressively, that's where I feel you're gonna see a big chunk of revenue also start shifting a little bit to Walmart.
I don't disagree with you, honestly. I think it's great. But I think the one thing that sort of strikes me about your company is whether it's someone's a startup on their first day with one product or 10 products, or if you've been online for 15 years, there's something that you can add value here with. So let me ask this question. Let's say that you have a new person that's been established, maybe a year or so, and they're trying to really expand their Amazon or their Walmart presence. What are the low-hanging things you would have people do first? Let's say that it came to you and said, hey, I have no idea how to run Amazon, but I have sold a little bit. Here it is. What would be the first things you all would pitch them to do? Because you can't do everything you have right away.
No.
Clearly, it's about layering it in. So what would be the best process to work with your company?
Yeah, so the first thing I do, and by the way, we do this free of charge because I feel, at the end of the day, I always have the mindset of providing value first before asking something in exchange. So all our audits are free for our clients. And most of the time they get a lot of value, because I would say 7 out of 10 people that reach out to us, we can really not help them. But at the same time, we explain them the reasoning behind that. And I think the number one thing is market research and product revalidation. So basically validating what they're already selling. Most of the time, people try to focus so much on PPC and conversions and all that, but sometimes you have a fundamental issue, and the fundamental issue is just the product is not right, is the market is not right. And because it's difficult sometimes emotionally to really understand the reality, you want to try to put more money into the fire to try to see if a miracle happens, but if the numbers are not there, are not there. So the first thing is checking and making sure that there's an opportunity, first of all. Once we make sure there's an opportunity, the first thing, and I say this at the beginning, the first thing I will put my money and time into is visual content. That means images and videos. So if I have to sacrifice our areas, I will do in exchange of having the best quality and service in terms of images. That means working with the best photographers that you have, having a very good person that can help you with the branding and all the concept of the images behind, which is also something that we do. Once you have the images and everything done, that's when I would then start focusing on the other things, because I see also this mistake so many times. People focus, let's do influencer marketing, PPC, Google Ads, all of that. Then you go to their listings and they have very poor images. And then if you don't clean your house first and you make it welcoming, you can bring all the different guests that you want, but they're not going to enter the house because it's not in good condition. So that's the thing. Images first, some visual content first, and then when you start focusing on the rest. Yeah.
I mean, that's a great way to put it, because a lot of times people don't know. We use this line at Quiet Light all the time. You don't know what you don't know. You may think that your listings are great, but look at reaching out to someone like you obviously gives another eye on it, that only if you pick up one little thing, it probably pays for itself over time, especially when you look at the longevity of an Amazon account. So that's great stuff. So let me kind of close with this. You have a lot to unpack. You guys can do a lot of things for people, which is great. It's like a one-stop shop. Are there other things that we haven't discussed today that you think that the listeners would like to know about Ecomcy?
Yeah, I would say for us is our slogan is that we're A to Z one-stop solution, as you just pictured right now, and we can definitely help you with everything when it comes to your Amazon and Walmart business. And I strongly believe in this concept, because I know you're gonna find a lot of agencies that only do SEO or only do PPC or only images. But the issue is, like, I feel like, especially when you're bringing, let's say, a business you're struggling as a business, Amazon, you come to us, right? The added value that we can do is that because we have experts on all the business units, and because they are very well integrated, when we put a solution forward, it's taking consideration all the pillars of your business at once, which is something that most of the time you only deal with an agency that do PPC, you're not going to encounter, because yes, they are the best maybe when it comes to advertisement, but maybe they don't really know how to help you on everything that has to do with the actual conversion, which is images and listing, or maybe they don't have the expert on their team that can help you be efficient with your inventory management so you don't go out of stock and lose the momentum. So I feel that's where Ecomcy really differentiates from the rest in the market, and that's why we have found people being having a big retainer in terms of people coming to us and staying with us for a long time, because we give that solution that whatever is the issue and whatever that you're going to, even if we cannot do it with our team, we have the best partners in the space, and we always make sure that we can help you get what you want with your business. Yeah.
That's really great. So, Vincenzo, it's been great chatting about the company today. I mean, I think obviously you have some great services. You provide a lot start to finish for whether it's Amazon or Walmart sellers, which is great. And people can come in and really optimize their business. So why don't you tell everyone about your site and how to get in touch with you? Maybe if you're on LinkedIn, wherever it is, so they can find you.
Sure. So if you want to find me, so you can find me as Vincenzo Toscano on all the social media platforms. And then if you also want to have a chat with us, so we offer a free audit and consultation on our website. So it's at ecomcy.com. Happy to, explore your Amazon and Walmart business and see how we can help you scale it. Yeah.
Well, Vincenzo, I appreciate it so much. It's been a great conversation. I learned a lot here, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of clients reaching out to be able to talk to you. And we just appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
Thank you, Pat. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate your time. See you in the next one. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.